Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today I'm very pleased to welcome a young man who, at the age of 17, burst onto the music scene in 2012 on Britain's Got Talent. His audition astounded the judges and went on to become the world's most viewed television audition of any performer in history. Since then, he has become a global sensation. He's recorded 6 hit albums and has been performing for concert audiences all over the world. He's widely considered to be one of the world's greatest living tenors, and he's the youngest tenor to ever achieve a #1 classical album. What a thrill to welcome Jonathan Antoine to our show. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, and what an intro. Thank you very much.
Well, you deserve it. When did you first realize that you had a special natural gift for singing?
Well, I've always just loved music, full stop. Like, it was, it helped to raise me, like my parents did. Their influences, my dad liked Luther Vandross, my mum liked Queen. Those things, like, always sort of hung over me in, like a mobile in a baby's crib. And I enjoyed singing along to whatever was on the radio. I liked dancing along as like a 5-year-old in the living room. And I simply never stopped. When I got into primary school in year 4, I had this wonderful teacher, Mrs. Masterson, who she ran a whole bunch of productions at the school. We did The King and I, which was a favourite of mine at the time. And she really encouraged me. She was one of the first people to kind of say, hey, you can kind of sing. You've got, if you enjoy it, maybe you should try it out. And I took those words to heart, it would seem.
Yes, for sure. I assume then that your parents were very supportive of developing your talent.
Yeah, I have been incredibly lucky in that aspect. That while very initially, because this is always the case, I feel, with getting into an art of any kind. People want you to have a second kind of pursuit, so just in case, a real job, But that whole idea was kind of eschewed very, very quickly by my parents, which is nice of them. Nice of them to have faith in me.
Absolutely. Well, at the age of 13, you sang Bring Him Home from Les Mis at the Stratford and East London Music Festival, and you were awarded Young Musician of the Year. That must have been a lot to take in for a young boy who was also very shy.
Absolutely. It was some validation as well. It was kind of a tick saying, hey, you're on the right path, just keep doing what you're doing. It's going to those Stratford and East London music festivals was honestly the highlight of my year, kind of every year doing those. Just being able to go and sing and have people enjoy it and maybe even win an award like that. It's, soul affirming.
Well, when you were 14, you auditioned at all 4 music conservatories in London, and you were accepted at all of them, but you chose the Royal Academy of Music. How did you meet Charlotte Giaconelli, your first singing partner?
Well, that was all through school, through West Hatch High School in sunny Chigwell. We were in the same year. We ended up taking a lot of the same GCSEs, which is our, I don't know what equivalent there is, but it's mid school exams, and that it was pretty much it. When we were we went to music classes together, of course. We kind of had a similar background in terms of what we enjoyed singing. She, of course, more on the musical theatre side, and so it only seemed natural to sing together. And so one of the first times we did was for our exams. There is a performing segment of the exams, and we sang, I think it was the prayer, on that day as well. So, that was a long time ago.
At your audition for Britain's Got Talent in 2012, you and Charlotte sang The Prayer and simply blew the judges away, especially Simon Cowell. Can you take us back to that night and tell us what was going through your mind?
Oh, goodness me. What a day that was. It was a full day. I mean, a few months prior to that, I'd had a BlackBerry message from Charlotte just saying, hey, do you want to try out for this TV show? Why not? And at the time, I felt I had nothing to lose. I was in quite a dark place myself, which I don't mind talking about if you'd like to. But to get back on topic, that day was a lot of waiting around, really. It's you go between the backstage and the mid stage, being interviewed, talking to people, and then just as it seems that you won't go on stage at all, they call your name, and suddenly the world kind of changes. To step out on that stage was a transformative experience for me, completely. It is definitely the case that there is a life prior to that experience and one after. And I believe that the one after is a lot happier and has been able to do these remarkable things just from stepping out onto that stage and being willing to do that, I suppose.
Well, you and Charlotte certainly knew that you sang well. So were you surprised that the judges were so overwhelmed by your talent when you knew yourself that you were good?
Yeah, I mean, it is one thing entirely to believe that you have something, and another thing completely for other people to validate it, I think. Up until that point, it was people's parents at school concerts, and, there is a certain way that you talk about other people's children, right? So to have these professionals in the industry and this huge crowd, you see the judges in front of you like these paper dolls illuminated by the TV lights, and then behind them in the darkness is just this sea of people, and you can just about make out faces and shapes, and it is ethereal.
Do you ever go back on YouTube and watch your audition?
I don't personally. I was on a radio interview just the other day, and they played more or less the fullness of the clip, and that must have been the first time that I'd heard it in a few years now. It's I feel I lived it. It's yeah, and I don't think I would go back and change anything either. So I'm happy to leave it as it was.
Well, you and Charlotte made it all the way to the finals on Britain's Got Talent, and you came in second. A dancing dog act actually won, whatever. How did you adjust to the sudden fame and the media frenzy that surrounded you after that show?
Well, yeah, it was particularly at the very offset. Even before the show aired, there were people talking about the audition who had been there. So it was genuinely immediate. Thankfully, I think there were only 2 or 3 times that we had journalists come directly to the house, and I am very fortunate to live with my parents, so they got to them first. And, yeah, that was a very, very strange experience, just for my dad to come into me later and say, "Oh, we had someone from The Sun at the door," or something of that nature. In terms of talking to people, though, in terms of, being able to go out there and kind of talk about my life, be able to share my experiences, and hope deep within me somewhere that someone can relate and maybe that it helps them just a little bit, that was like the greatest thing, to then be able to, just talk about whatever I felt needed talking about. It liberated me in a lot of ways and changed me.
We're going to talk more about that because I think that's very important, and it's something that you and I have in common. Are there things that you wish you had done differently in the aftermath of Britain's Got Talent?
It's very hard to say. I can think of a number of things that could have been done differently, but whether I wish that I had done them differently is really hard to say. My general default is that I'm very happy with where I've ended up. So, if I went back and did something differently, who knows, perhaps I wouldn't be as happy, perhaps,
I think that's a really good attitude.
Yeah.
Is there a certain stigma that attaches to artists who made it big on TV talent shows? I've heard people like Kelly Clarkson and Carrie Underwood, Jackie Evancho, they've talked about this.
Yeah, I think that there most likely is. I am generally less privy to it nowadays, thankfully, because I have a whole wonderful team who works around me, and if someone says something bad to them, they don't bring it to me, thankfully. But I do think that there is a certain stigma that I will probably never funnel my way through the official sort of classical and operatic route of going to the proper conservatoires at full time and doing the hard study. I really like what I'm doing. I like doing solo shows. I like, doing cathedrals. I like having the freedom to choose whatever repertoire I like. And I think that some people might resent me for that. Completely fair. I will say it was a shortcut in a way. It took me to a place that I did not anticipate being.
Well, I think the impression people get when you suddenly achieve fame on a TV talent show is that you were an overnight success and you didn't pay your dues. But in your case, even though you were only 17, you had already been training your voice in a serious way for years. You were not an overnight success, in my opinion.
I like to think so as well. I like to think that, it was the training, the dedication, the caring about music itself and enjoying it that people saw when they saw me on stage on that day. Not, a rough stone to be polished. I think there was already a little bit of shine there. Maybe, hopefully.
Oh, there was a lot of it, and I think that's what the judges and the audience saw. You and Charlotte recorded 2 albums as a duo. The first album from 2012 is called Together, and the second album from 2013 was called Perhaps Love. On the Perhaps Love album, you branched out to sing pop ballads in addition to classical songs. Do you like singing both kinds of music?
I like singing everything. I think that in the world we have such a gorgeous and vast bouquet of different musics. To not at least explore them all and see what you like and don't like is a crime, frankly. So I love singing pop music, I love singing classical, I love singing theatre, I love singing heavy metal, but that's just for me.
Do you think there's a heavy metal album in your future?
Oh, I've been thinking about it since before I had a career. So maybe, give it 10, 20 years, we'll see.
Maybe a collaboration, a duet.
Maybe. That would be cool.
Speaking of duets, do you have a favorite duet from your time with Charlotte?
It has to be the one, the prayer. Even after singing it, I have no idea how many times. It's still iconic. It still brings me back to hear just the first little riff of the instrumental. It takes me back to every time that I performed it, and in particular that one that changed my life.
In 2014, you and Charlotte decided to go your separate ways professionally. Obviously, your fans were disappointed, but in my mind, I never got the sense when you went on Britain's Got Talent that your intention was to stay together forever as a duo. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that some people got the impression that maybe it was because of the way that things were said. My intent there was that I never would have entered the show or gotten on that stage on that day if it wasn't as a duo, and therefore it felt disingenuous to me to then kind of say on that day right there, okay, I'll do it. It's outside of my character, I think. But after a couple of years, after kind of not really being sure what comes next, really, that there are quite limited options for a male-female duo like ours, and so we came to an agreement, and here we are now. In particular, here I am now. Hello, everybody.
Are there other artists you'd like to record duets with? Because I could definitely see a duet album in your future at some point.
Yes. That is a tough question, because I want to separate myself from that a little bit. I feel I've had a good few years without duets. There are a lot of singers out there who are just wonderful, and to mention specific names, particularly of those, it's very unfortunate. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were asking, who would you like to have lunch with, which I feel is a similar question, duets and lunch, and I came to realise that a lot of my heroes, my musical heroes, they've all passed on. So that's a bit unfortunate for a duet, certainly.
Well, we have seen albums where duets have been done with deceased singing partners.
We have.
Natalie Cole started it.
Yeah.
Barry Manilow did an album with many departed singers, so it's possible
It is.
you might end up doing that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my favorite singer of all time is Jeff Buckley, actually, personally. So that would be dreamlike, you know, with the wonders of technology, particularly. And you know, I like a lot of classic singers. I like what my parents liked. I feel like.
Well, your parents raised you right, Jonathan. In 2014, you released your first solo album called Tenore, which means tenor in Italian. You worked with legendary music producer Anna Berry, who's worked with Andrea Bocelli, Jose Carreras, Andrew Lloyd Webber. Did she help you bring out something different in your voice than in the previous albums?
I think absolutely. I think that, well, the way that we recorded this album was different entirely. All of the vocal recording was done inside a church with like a multi-mic setup to capture all of the reverberations in room, and just having that environment is like it breeds creativity and makes you want to sing out like to the heavens, one might say. So just in doing that, in positioning that and getting that set up, she was an absolute whiz. And she, yeah, it was having all these cables running throughout the church. It felt like it was our space where we had this this crucible to create this thing. And yeah, she just gently led me in the correct direction as we went through the songs, and it was bust-free smooth. I had a wonderful time recording that album.
It was a brilliant collaboration. You were 19 years old when your first solo album came out, and you're the youngest tenor to reach number one. Can you remember how it felt when you found out that your album was number one?
Well, it's strange because when you just hear it, when someone kind of comes to you and you hear it, you're like, it's a number, sure. But what does that mean? And then you kind of look, you see like on the web pages that it's at the top, and there's these other ones. There's these people that you know who are like a position below you, and that freaked me out. That freaked me out. Like, yeah, having these other wonderful albums that I was hearing and seeing all over the place, be just one position below is like, oh, me, really?
Well, it's an astonishing accomplishment. And then you were invited by Placido Domingo to sing in the finale concert of the iTunes Music Festival in London. Did you get the chance to spend much time with Mr. Domingo?
Unfortunately, not at that time. Funnily enough, many years later, we did meet each other on a flight, completely unrelated. But the iTunes Festival is something. I still have my lanyard from it. I still have that up in a drawer in my room. I remember that dearly. It's to be on the same stage as Placido. Uh, what can one say? It's literally in the presence of greatness, of a legend, and
It's an
to
incredible tribute to you that he saw in you that caliber, that pre-legendary level of talent to invite you on the stage with him. I think that was the moment when I knew I needed to meet you.
oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Your second solo album from 2016 called Believe includes a song that you co-wrote with Chris Broom called A New Tomorrow. Can we expect more original songs from you in the future?
Oh, I would love to. I would absolutely love to. I'm kind of a guitar nut. Is my thing. So I sit here right at this desk, and I kind of make little chord progressions and little bits of songs, and I've always wanted to kind of bring some of those to the people and see if maybe those kind of resonate with people in a similar way to the singing. I hope that if I were to write more lyrics, that they would be able to connect with people and help people. Maybe that's the reason that I would write a song, is so that I could help other people feel something, I think.
Could you ever see yourself doing musical theater, like maybe playing Jean Valjean in Les Mis, or do you prefer concerts?
I must say I prefer concerts, but if I somehow develop the tenacity and
Stamina.
the well the discipline, that's the word. If I develop somehow the discipline to enter into the music theatre world proper, then it's something that actually, from all of the people who I've ever talked to who have ever done it, it just sounds gratifying and wonderful and fun. So perhaps one day that is something you'll catch me doing.
I hope so, when you're ready.
Absolutely.
Last year you released your album Going the Distance, and it contains a mix of classic arias and powerful contemporary ballads. How do you go about choosing the songs you want to sing?
Well, for that album in particular, there was a kind of narrative that I wanted to carve. It was very kind of loosely based on myself, but I feel it kind of extends across a couple of generations. And for me, it all came together quite simply. I felt the first section is like being a child, basically, and that's loaded with Disney songs and things that remind me particularly of my childhood, and therefore I think a few other generations. And it steadily moves through this maturity scale, one might say, or a perceived maturity scale. You know, like the American classics and the big classic songbook songs are in the middle there as you grow up, as you begin to appreciate these things. And then it's classical at the end because that's perceived as very mature and and things like that. So for me, it was about carving that story and about finding which pieces related most to me and hoping that other people would identify with that.
You recently recorded a new version of Low C, written by Diane Warren for the film The Life Ahead. This emotional ballad was nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars and won Best Original Song at the Golden Globe Awards. How did it happen that you recorded the song? Did Diane ask for you to do it?
Well, yes, actually, she did. So for Going the Distance in 2020, we were looking for the last kind of piece to complete the story. And so my inimitable producer, Greg Field, who has worked with just everyone, he just says, "Oh, I'll call up my good friend Diane Warren." As people do, as is just a thing that one does. Yeah. And that's how we get Compass for that album. And since then, we've been talking, we've been getting things arranged, and it all culminated in her quite literally Instagram DMing me and saying, "Okay, you have to do this song. We have to make a cool string version with your voice, and let's get on it." And so I messaged Greg feverishly and said, "Oh, Diane, did you hear what Diane said?" And from there, I believe it was April 1st, I got into the studio and at Masterchord, this beautiful place in London, and it flew out. Like, since she had mentioned it, I'd been listening hard, and there were all these I had ideas for it, and I was very, very lucky that I kind of said, as we were ending the recording session, I said, there's something that I kind of want to do here. I want to harmonise with myself, which I don't think is very commonly done, and I just kind of mostly improvised this top line over the main melody, and I'm very, very glad I did, because I love it.
You know what that tells me is that you are intuitive and you trust your instincts.
Thank you.
And I think that's very, very important and the key to even greater success, Jonathan.
I really, really do appreciate that. Thank you.
You've spent most of your life studying and training your voice. Is performing getting easier for you as time passes?
In the most literal sense of the physical body, absolutely, which is in itself very gratifying and confirms that I have been doing work all this time. But I always get nervous every single time, even for an interview like this. I get nervous to exist in front of other people.
Well, I understand you've had struggles with anxiety and stage fright. How are you doing now?
As a person in general, a whole lot better. As I alluded to earlier, there is, I feel, almost definitely a me before BGT and a me after. And the me after is a lot more confident, I think, and has been able to build up that confidence. And while it is nerve-wracking every time I go on stage, I get nervous, I get, shaky in the diaphragm. It's getting up there, starting the first song, hearing the first strains of strings as they ring out behind me. It all melts away. It all fades into the background, and I can really exist with other people.
So when you're going through that stage fright right before the show starts, does it help to remind yourself that once you get out there, it's all going to be okay?
Sometimes it's very strange when you're in such a weird headspace, an anxious headspace. Even things that you know to be true can feel like platitudes. So more often than not, I try. I suppose I try not to tell myself anything. I try and keep my mind as blank as possible, and try not to even think about that I'm going to step out there. Just let it happen when it happens.
Are you learning to trust yourself that you've got it? It wasn't just a fluke. It's going to be there every time because you really do have it.
I am honestly still struggling with that in some ways. Particularly, is it going to be there every single time? And in a way, is it going to be that every single time? Are people going to get it? Is it going to be what resonates every single time? And I don't know that it will, but all I can do is continue to do what I am doing and hope that it does.
Well, I'll tell you something that Barbra Streisand used to say, and she suffered from horrible stage fright that kept her away from performing for 30 years. She said that she finally came to embrace the concept that perfection is not what it's about. That when people come to see you sing live, they don't necessarily need perfection. They just want to see you doing your best and giving of yourself. And if they want perfection, they can go listen to the album. So I hope that will resonate with you.
It does. It really does. It's something that I find myself deeply agreeing with. There is, in no stretch of life is there any such thing as perfection or the ideal. There's just what we can do, and I think that what we can do is a lot more beautiful than what's perfect.
Jonathan, you've spoken publicly about being bullied as a child, and we have that in common because I was also very badly bullied as a kid, and you were also a very shy child. How did you overcome those issues to become the person you now are?
Oh, good question. It's for me, I got a lot of well, I hate to say it again, gratification from people recognizing that there was something about me, that I wasn't just sort of a big meat sack, a big annoying meat sack, particularly. It's just having a pursuit, having something that you love is so much more powerful than any other person's hate. I believe, at least. And so being able to focus on that and kind of being swept away in it, that's what got me away from the well of depression. I'm still medicated. I still have bad days, but the bullying itself, it's a consequence of being a kid in a way. It's a consequence of not understanding how your actions can affect others. When when you don't intend to bring someone down and you just kind of say something, it can have an unknowable effect. And so simply to take more care with your words, particularly as young people, I think that is vital, I think. And I genuinely believe that the newer generation are starting to take that to heart. It feels like, at least.
I hope so. I think that the shock as a young person of knowing how cruel some kids can be is a very traumatizing experience. It was for me, and I'm sure it was for you. But I want to tell you that the best revenge is being successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is.
Do you think that experiencing emotional pain has helped you to be a better artist than if everything had been easy in your life?
I I'm I'm going to say no here, um, because I've seen it many a time that the idea of being bullied, or the idea of having depression or having anxiety or having something wrong with you in some way, quote unquote, is romanticized, and I believe that that is a a dangerous path for people to go down, to want these things when you cannot fully understand them. And I talk mostly about younger people here. Is very, very dangerous, and it can be demeaning to those who are actually struggling with those things. So I must say no. It is actually the good things, the fact that my parents were so supportive. It's my times at the Royal Academy of Music junior department. It's going on that stage and having people enjoy it. Those are the things that have made me, if not a good artist, then an artist at all.
Do you feel the love that your fans have for you?
Absolutely. I feel like it's what kept me going initially, for sure, and now, well, yeah, probably still the same today. Honestly, it's these are people, these are individuals who have these storied lives and who have shared those with me, and in particular, I have shared the last almost 10 years of mine with them, and I hope to continue to do that until I am long gone. These these people have quite literally lifted me up out of the dirt in many times, and I cannot thank the people who have joined us, the people who we have lost along the way, and the new people who will arrive to us someday. I cannot thank them more than yeah. I thank you very much, everybody, for supporting me for so long, and I hope I don't disappoint you in the future.
Do you think a lot about destiny and the personal voyage that you're on and the remarkable trajectory that your career has had so far?
Yeah, thank you. I think I do. I think a lot about the path that I have carved for myself so far, and the path that is yet to be carved, the mountain that is yet unclimbed. And when I look up at that peak, it does often feel completely insurmountable. But then I take a single glance behind me and I see how far I have already come, and I'm filled with energy, with power to do these things. And I don't just see an empty landscape behind me. I see it filled and bustling with life, with the beautiful people that I have met along the way.
And there's so much coming, Jonathan. How do you define success in your life?
Ah, wow. This is one that I have pondered for, I guess the last 10 years, really.
Why
What
am
does
I
it
not
mean?
surprised?
What does it mean to be successful? And where, if you have found success, do you stop? Do you or do you just continue twice as hard and find something else to do? I think success is just finding something that makes you happy in the first place. If you are happy doing it, it's really irrelevant what you get back out of it, so long as it makes you smile, I think.
Are you having fun?
Oh, yes. Yes, I am. I'm having fun right now, and I'm having fun in my life and career in general.
So, what do you see yourself doing, let's say, 5 years from now?
Oh, the same thing I see myself doing every 5 years from now, conquering the world. No, I'd really, well, I'd like to be back out there doing shows by that time. Who knows at this point? And
It'll
uh,
happen.
yes, it will. Fingers crossed. Touch wood, all those lucky things. I have always been one to kind of flow with the wind and allow myself to be pushed and pulled wherever fate might take me. I would really like to go to every continent. I think that that's a good goal in general. I'd like to tour every state. I think frankly that those are goals big enough for the next 5, perhaps even 10 years, I would say. And then when I've done those, I shall find another greater pursuit.
I love the fact that over these 9 years, you've remained very humble. You really are very grounded. It's very clear the authenticity and the sincerity that comes through. It comes through in your voice, and it comes through when you speak. I'm really grateful for this opportunity I've had to help your fans get to know you even better.
Oh, no, well, thank you. I mean, at the end, well, for one, I am incredibly thankful for the opportunity you've given me today to speak about myself. It's always fun, but it's I'm made out of the same stuff that you are, and the same stuff that I see as anyone else on the street. We were all born from the stars, and we will all return to the stars one day. So there's nothing that makes me particularly special compared to any other person in the world. I've got something that I really enjoy doing, and some people really, really like that. And I am incredibly, incredibly lucky, fortunate, and I take great grace with that. Thank you, everyone.
Well, Jonathan, it's been a real pleasure to meet you. You have a magical voice. You've achieved so much, and I know that great things are in store for you as your audience across the world keeps growing. Thank you for being on our show, and I hope you'll come back with every new album.
Gladly, gladly. Thank you for having me.
Our guest has been a wonderful man with a fabulous voice, Jonathan Antoine. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to our producer, Steve Silver. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
See you next time.
Remember to subscribe to the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel, and be sure to check out more great interviews with Harvey Brownstone on harveybrownstoneInterviews.com.